Wow, 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 wow. Look at all of these snails, guys. What are we gonna do with them? Don't worry, I have an idea. I think today, because I don't really have much else going on, I think we're gonna scoop up as many of these as we can, and we'll go feed them to the pufferfish. It's been a while since we've checked out the mini puffer tank, guys, and as you can see, the Rotala just keeps growing and growing and growing. I'll talk about why I really don't like the scape too much anymore after we feed the pufferfish. I know we want to do that here right away. That's what you guys came here for, probably. But after we do that, we're going to talk a lot about the tank and some of the changes that are probably going to be coming to it. So before we toss in the snails, you'll notice that we have fewer pufferfish in here than you guys are probably used to. Remember, we started out with a lot of them, like 15 of them, and now we're down to, we have 6 of them in here now. So let me tell you what happened to the other ones. Everything was going fine in this tank, everybody was getting along, but then that changed. So I came back from Chicago and I noticed that I had 2 pufferfish that were no longer, okay, death to be determined, but I decided right then and there to sort of be more mindful about the amount of these things that I have in here. So based on what's recommended, I had way too many, and I knew that going in. I wanted to see if it could be done, basically, and it did work for a while. But what I decided to do, because I had a couple die, is I took 6 of them out, gave them to a friend of mine that had the room for them, and then another handful of them I took out and I put into another tank that I have that you guys haven't seen yet. So whether or not I keep those, I'm not sure yet. I kind of really just want to have one pufferfish tank, but I don't know. We'll see when we get to that point, whether or not we want to keep them or not. So now we're down to 6 here in this roughly 30-gallon cube, and that fits sort of the norm for how many you should have, you know, per gallon of water. And you know, it's been a couple weeks since I've made that change, and everything is looking good. They seem to be, you know, just fine with each other. So I think we're good from now on, but you know, it's just one of those things. Sometimes you have to make changes, livestock wise, scape wise, you know, whatever. But we're through that. Hopefully we don't lose any more of these guys. It was not fun to lose 2 of them. And again, so far, so good. Let's go ahead and feed these guys. You can see I have like 25, maybe 30 of the smaller snails from the 33, and then I grabbed this big guy right here from the 125 just to see what they'll do with him. I know what they're gonna do, but we'll see what happens. It's always really fun to watch these guys eat snails, and you can tell just from, you know, 10 minutes of having these in the tank, pretty much all of them have been eaten except for this one lucky guy on the glass. I don't think he's going to be around for too much longer though. So I mean, I feed the snails, I try and get in here and dump, you know, a bunch of them in here like once a week. Again, the pea puffer doesn't require snails for filing down of its tooth or anything. The frozen bloodworms seem to be just fine for that, and that's what I primarily feed them. But still, you know, every once in a while I gotta throw in some snails because it's just so much fun to watch them hunt. And they did spend quite a bit of time over here by this big ol' snail, and they got him pretty good. You can still, you know, there's some sand still on the meat of the snail. I'm thinking that they'll get to him later. At least that's what I've experienced in the past with putting those big snails in there. They really like to get in there and tag team those big ones. So anyway, the puffer tank, you know, I like it, don't get me wrong, but scape wise, here's the thing. So you guys are seeing the tank now when it looks pretty good, like the Rotala's grown up and it's time for a trim, no doubt. But what happens is I get in here and I trim the Rotala way back down low to about this point, and then the tank just looks bad for like a month because it takes that long, if not a little bit longer, for the Rotala to grow back up. And so, you know, it's just one of those things where I know you guys like the scape, and I don't hate the scape. I don't necessarily want to change it, but just the fact that when I cut it looks bad for like at least a month kind of sucks for me because it's right next to my desk where I do all my work, and I like to, you know, be looking at a cool tank for most of the time, right? So there he goes, getting another chunk of that guy. But, so I don't know, you know, I'm thinking about doing a rescape, and I have an idea in mind that's a lot more low maintenance, and I'm not going to run into issues with fuzz algae. Like, this tank looks good right now, but if I let it go for 2 weeks and I don't do a water change, then I get this really bad fuzz algae that, you know, ends up just all over the substrate. The white sand's just one of those things where it takes a little bit more time and maintenance to keep it looking good, and I made sure it looked good before I filmed this video for you guys. So I got to keep all those things in mind, and yeah, it's something I haven't decided yet, but let me know what you think I should do, if I should keep the scape or if I should redo it kind of in somewhat of a similar way, but just have it be a little bit easier for myself. Let me know what you think. So the only other tank that's in this room that's completely set up right now is, of course, the jungle aquarium. You guys haven't seen that in a long time, and I do apologize for that, but here is how the tank is looking. You'll notice that we have a little bit of die off here in some moss, and I'll explain a little bit that in a second. But I think where we left off was we added the fish, and I asked you to help name one of the fish. Let's see if we can find him. Anyway, I named him. Remember, he was the weird fish that had the kind of like zigzag pattern. He just was a deformed little Curry tetra. I decided to name him Ziggy. It was super easy. Like, I saw it in one comment, and then I saw it in another comment, and I was just like, yeah, that's totally the name. So his name is Ziggy, and I was scared, like right after that video was filmed, when I asked you guys for your help, because I couldn't find him for like the longest time. And his deal is that he only comes out when I change the water or I feed. And, you know, basically 99.9% of the time he's always hiding. And so that's of course the case right now. So let's go ahead and let's add some fish food. Let's see if we can get him to come out. I bet he's out instantly. Got some fluval bug bites here. Fish have been liking these so far. See if he'll come out. He's like a dog. Sometimes you have to call him. There he is. He was in the back. So there's Ziggy, the deformed Curry tetra, still going strong. Love that guy. I wish he was out more. But basically, yeah, the forest tank, I haven't done really hardly any maintenance to it, like trimming wise. I've been staying up on my water changes. I did have a little bit of an issue with some cyanobacteria. Like if we look here, there is cyanobacteria covering some portions, and that's why that portion of moss died off, is because at one point it was pretty heavily covered with that slime algae, as a lot of people refer to it as. And so I've been able to get it almost completely taken care of just by, you know, staying up on water changes and things like that. But I do have some blue-green slime remover up here. I've used this in the past. It works really good. So I add that, and it, you know, the green slime algae goes away. And it's actually, you know, when I had to do it one other time, I added it, used it, it treated the tank, it worked, and then it never came back. And so, you know, I don't want to completely go in and do that on this tank because I am starting to get rid of it naturally now, so I think I'm going to hold off on that, but just know that this is a really good option if you're having problems with this type of algae. You know, you'll see the Japan clover has just grown kind of crazy all over this left side and this right side. I do want to get in here and trim it. I said once before that I didn't want to trim this tank, especially the hair grass, because I like the way that it was so tall and it, you know, reached up. I thought that was like kind of the feel that I wanted, but I might be coming in here soon and doing a big trim on this tank to try and just, you know, clean it up a little bit and make it look better. I might end up putting some new moss in some places where, you know, it unfortunately did die off. But basically, this tank has been super low maintenance and I haven't really had to do much other than just stay up on my regular water changes. There is this random plant that is growing up immersed out of some of the moss. I don't know if it came in like it was a seed in some of the moss. I don't know what it is. It looks like, you know, just a terrestrial plant or something. It doesn't look, I mean, I don't know. I haven't really spent too much time looking at it. It could be some kind of a true aquatic plant, but I don't know. Nothing that I've ever seen before. I just leave it because I think it's kind of neat. Over here on this messy side of the room, we have the Iwagumi immerse setup that we did a few weeks ago. I've been inside the tank more than a few times to replace some of the Monte Carlo, just because, remember, I used some old tissue cultures that were in the fridge for a super long time, and they ended up not being very viable. So I've been, you know, pulling out the plants that ended up just withering away. You can see there's like, you know, a little chunk down there that's kind of browning out. That's no good, but I've just been swapping it out with some fresh stuff, and you know, we're just waiting. So there's no urgency with this setup. We're just gonna kind of let it go for as long as we need to, and then we'll fill it up and probably put some fish in it. I decided that I wanted to keep it. So, and then we have a tank over here, which is on the list, and of course we have the, oh, I can't show that. Of course, we also have the 38 tall over here that is going to get set up. I think this is next. Let's zoom back over here to the pufferfish. Check them out again. Let's see how they've been doing over here. The graveyard. Wow. Well, that was their treat for the week. I'm sure they enjoyed that. This tank has been nice to me so far, kind of. I don't know. It's one of those things, guys, where, you know, every tank is different. Like the 20 over there, the jungle tank, has had its own set of issues and challenges. But as long as you're having fun with everything, you know, at the end of the day, it's all good and it's worth, you know, the time that you put into it. Anyway, guys, I think that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching the pufferfish chow down on some snails, and you also, you know, liked getting an update for the 20 and the other tank in here. I did get a request to do like an all my tanks video. I realized that I'm not the best at showing, you know, all my tanks off, especially, you know, on a per video basis. So I think coming up here, I don't know if it's going to be the next video or the next or the next or what, but definitely like within a month from now, we'll do a kind of like an all my tanks video, and you guys will get to see everything. And so I'll try and get everything looking good, but you know, we'll see. Thanks again so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Hit the notification bell so you know when I upload the next video. See you later, guys.